Chapter 65. Blue. I try not to panic as I'm led back into that dreaded classroom. The walk up those curling, perfect stairs seems more and more like the walk to the gallows. Kara walks beside me. He should be walking in front of me, and I should be trailing 3 steps behind. The position should chafe, but I can't help but be thankful for his presence at the moment. I feel safer with him beside me. Safer and less alone. I know it's stupid. Kara can't keep me perfectly safe. There are people here that he can't argue with or go against, but I know he'd try. For some reason, that's more than enough for me. I slide my hand beside his, bumping lightly against his wrist to get his attention. He stiffens beside me, probably shocked that I'd be so bold in public. I don't look at him, though I can tell he's turned to look at me. I focus on where our skin meets. So warm and solid. Safe, my mind echoes again, even as I try to shut the thoughts away. I trust you. My pinky curls around his, and I have a second-long heart attack before he squeezes back. I'm not bold enough to try holding his hand, but for the moment, this is enough. That he'd walk beside me, allow this soft, casual touch, be warm and solid when I need him. That's enough. It's been over a week since our little fire in the sky incident. Nobody came to check out the disturbance. We'd waited with bated breath for 3 days before we'd try it again. I'd been so nervous to try again. Magic feels so addictive, so alive inside you when you are a more compliant host. It makes you daring in a way you normally wouldn't be. It's like a high, but without the needles and sickness after, as you try to piece together what happened from the stickiness on your clothes and the time you're missing. I at once feel my face heat, thinking of our first little experiment. It was certainly a different experience from drugs. I can remember everything with terrible clarity. I got overwhelmed, and I allowed Kara's own magic to lash out at him. He wouldn't let me help care for his injuries, wouldn't even let me see them. But he'd taken his time in his lab that night, coming in late, smelling of the numbing salve I'm familiar with, and missing all visual signs of his burns. He'd said it was like my feet. It looked fine, but it would take another few days before the sensitivity went away. I look back down at where our pinkies are intertwined. He forgave the incident like it was nothing. Perhaps it meant less to him than it does to me. To him, it was only a few hours of healing, another day or so of heightened sensitivity. But to me, being dangerous to your master is the easiest way to get yourself killed. If you have a disease that your master decides not to treat, you could be dangerous and possibly infectious. Most traders wouldn't hesitate to put you down. If you are malfunctioning for any reason and it's affecting the quality of your work or the way you interact with others, you could be dangerous to your master. But attacking your master, directly causing him bodily harm, he could have said anything to any Anvi, and they would have dragged me in and put me down without question. I owe you my life. I try to convey it to him. I've been trying for the past week. Little things, small favors that make his life a little easier, but in no way make up for the magnitude of what he's done. I squeeze his pinky lightly again, hoping to get him to look at me, hoping that he'll see what I mean to tell him. He stiffens and looks over my head, back down the staircase, before doing another passive sweep up the stairs. He's keeping watch, making sure we're safe, as always. I shouldn't be touching him so flagrantly. Not in public. Not when his peers could see. I shouldn't be so selfish. I drop his hand as we reach the top of the stairs. There are too many other students milling around. Too high a chance we'll be seen. I feel like a criminal as we walk through the wide double doors of the classroom. Even though we're walking through the front door, making no moves to conceal ourselves, it feels like we're spies or soldiers sneaking into a hall under false pretenses. The whole thing is just ridiculous enough to make me giggle. We shouldn't be in any trouble. The flame-throwing experiment in the garden didn't go how I'd imagined, but we didn't have any more incidents of overcharge in a residential area. It's been over a week since then. They couldn't trace that back to Kara and me, especially when no incident was filed in the first place. Professor Berg greets his students as they come in, dressed in his overly ornate blood mage robes. Jewel is there by his side, simply watching the flood of students come in. I don't miss the haphazard drumming of their fingers against their thighs. It's a well-concealed gesture, but not from someone who's looking for the tick. There's a nervous buzz in the class that only a practical examination can bring. All the students find their seats, passing forward their choices of spell and their reports on the functionality and personal addendums that they've supplemented. Different kinds of incense, candles, lunar cycle data that might affect the functionality of their spells. It's a day for testing, but something tells me that we might just have something a little more stunning than Ilario using sage instead of time in his spell. Kara doesn't volunteer to go first. I'm surprised, but not overly disappointed. We'll have to go at some point today, so I suppose it doesn't matter. It's odd to watch the direction students go when they have free rein to change the traditional parameters of the spells. Some spells are a little unstable. Some are very unstable, refusing to find a grounding in the material plane no matter how much energy is summoned up from the caster. I lean back against Kara, finding his knee and simply turning my head into the soft fabric of his trousers. After the initial test in the garden, we'd found a new routine, testing how far we could push this new style of casting that would keep us both safe. Practicing until Professor Berg's in-class casting could no longer cast a heavy shadow over us. I have to turn into the soft fabric to hide my smile. Kara passes me a small, discreet vial of Shauna's potion. I pout, even though I know he's not looking at me, but I take it without any more protest. I don't need the potion. Not really. We practiced with it and without it. It's fun to see the magic, but it's not necessary. It's easier to watch its movements, but with as much practice as we've had, I can feel the ebb and flow of the magic. I can follow it blindly if I need to. But Kara doesn't seem to want to take that chance. Opening my eyes within the school is entirely different from the muted magic of the garden. Everything is vibrant and nearly caustic. There are so many auras brushing up against each other, causing clashes at their edges. I have to force myself to look away. It's making me nauseous. Everyone's glowing idly. The student doing their casting has their field extended in activity, the magic they've called forth swirling at their beck and call. He's doing it wrong. He's not in sync with the magic he's trying to conjure. It's not going to work. But that doesn't stop his magic from lashing out from him, licking at everyone's fields. Everyone, except for Kara. I look over him carefully again, but there's no change. He appears the same as he did when I'd first tried the potion. No aura, just the faint magical swell coming from his necklace. That gives me a second's pause. I recognize the item, but I don't understand its function. Perhaps it's his good luck charm, I muse to myself. We get called up after the spell fizzles, rather spectacularly. I can see the confusion in everyone's faces when I remain standing as my master draws the sigil on the ground, burns his incense, and begins his spell. The magic rises, just like we practiced, I have to remind myself. There are so many eyes on me, questioning why I haven't knelt, why Kara's still bothering with a weak constitution familiar. I hear the warning Professor Berg shouts like it's coming through a tunnel. No words, just emotion and sound. I fight the nervous feeling that rises in my belly, the claustrophobic sensation of all that attention, and let my mind go blank, just like we practiced. The first step is the hardest, moving and hoping that the magic will follow, not choose another direction and rip through me with all the pain I know it's capable of. But after that, it's easy. It's natural, simple movements that are easy to follow. I didn't need to see the magic, but having the advantage makes this almost too easy. Fairy lights. It's a simple but powerful spell. More flair and attractant than anything Kara usually does, but it is perfect for this pretentious crowd. Lights dance and blossom with an unnatural darkness surrounding them. It's supposed to be a warding spell, something to cover the caster in a false aura to make most manner of beasts ignore you. An excellent little spell for when you go camping, but it only really covers one person. The faint lights burst into existence, pushing into the material plane. I can see the auras they emit, the darkness they exude around them to obscure anything close. They are overcharged, magnified in a way that I'm sure they've never seen before. It's inexact, but I can almost direct where the globes end up. It's fun, pitching the lights as far as I can manage, finding an outer limit, and freaking out the students still sitting in the lecture hall. It's powerful, and when it's time to end the casting, it is dismissed without any trouble. It all goes off without a hitch, more powerful than any expert could have done with the highest-ranking familiar at their side. So, of course, that's when all hell breaks loose. For a moment or two after every casting, I'm left a little out of it. So much magic making its way cleanly through my body tends to do that, but this time it leaves me a little disoriented. I hear everything like I've got cotton stuffed into my ears, and I can only watch as Professor Berg storms up to my master, red-faced and seething, screaming about something I will never know. Kara's just as confused as I am, talking back in a way that's got to be disrespectful. I stumble forward, trying to get my master's attention before he says something that he really regrets, but I hit my knees. I stare at my knees beneath me, confused as to why I've been betrayed by a part of my body, when I realize that I've actually lost sensation in my outer extremities. All this time, and I still haven't fully mastered exactly how much of my energy is taken with the castings. I wait on my hands and knees for my hearing to return to normal, for feeling to return to my limbs as I just try to breathe slowly. We did everything right. Nobody got hurt. We did the spell right, so why are they arguing? I'm shocked out of my own thoughts as my arm is grabbed. It's not my master, and so my ears plaster themselves to my skull reflexively. It's some larger guard. They have the crest of the school on their right pocket, but that doesn't make me less afraid. Who the hell are they?
Blue, calm down.
My head snaps to my master. He's only a few feet away, and for some reason that calms me enough that I stop trying to get my arm back from the guard.
Master?
I don't have the words for the questions I want to ask. I don't feel safe saying them out loud. Not here. Not with everyone here.
Blue, I'm going to sort this out. Just go with him, all right? He's going to take you to wait at the care center,
he says, in a voice that's so close to a command that I almost miss the concern in his eyes. I simply nod slowly, standing on wobbly limbs to follow the guard. What did we do wrong? Sort out what? There's a zing of pain as I realize I've scratched a little too harshly at my wrist. I haven't done this in so long, but my nerves have left me a bit frazzled. The care center is mostly empty, but that doesn't seem to matter much. In less than 10 minutes, another guard, accompanied by a woman dressed like a teacher, comes to pick me up. I want to protest. Kara doesn't know that they're taking me. I don't even know where we're going. What if he can't find me? He'd look, right? He wouldn't just leave me here now that I've caused him so much trouble? I mule pathetically, trying my best to retreat.
But when the guard picks me up by the back of my collar, I stop struggling. There's no point. If they want to take me, they're going to take me. I just have to try to be well behaved enough that they let me go before my master realizes I've been gone. We go to the second floor, to a tiny room with no windows or chairs. Not that it matters much to me. The guard holds me down while he clips my collar to a leash that's bolted to the wall like I'm going to run. I'm willing. I'm cooperative, I want to plead. But I know it's better that I stay silent. It's better to show them that I am well trained, not act like a scared little kid.
"Do you know why you are here?"
She asks. Her voice is cold, and immediately the dread sets in as I try to push myself into one of the corners furthest from the door. I don't want to be here. I want to go back to the care center. I want my master. This lady scares me. I'm so focused on her that it entirely escapes my attention that the guard is still here, until he stalks forward, pulling me by the leash bolted into the wall before slapping me with such force that I'm sent into the wall.
"You answer her!"
he yells, face drawn up in a sneer as though he believes that a pet plaything isn't even capable of that much. To be honest, after such a blow, I'm not capable of much. And when I don't immediately comply, he goes to take my leash again. I'm ready for another blow. I'm set to brace myself even as I scramble to remember her question so I can comply. But it doesn't get that far. The woman stops him, placing a hand over his and motioning for him toward the door. As he releases me, my hands immediately go to the leash. I know it won't protect me, but I hold onto the leash from where it's bolted to the wall, pulling myself against it so that it's all but hidden from anyone's grasp. It's automatic. A shameful display. But I can't stop myself. I can't stop hoping that it will stop them from reaching for it if it's just a little more inconvenient.
"Do you know why you are here?"
she asks again, and it takes me a second to realize she's asking me. No, ma'am, I answer, trying to control my trembling. She looks oddly familiar. I'm sure I've seen her before, but I just can't place it. She's not a student, but I've met almost all of Kara's teachers. She must be one of the ones that doesn't allow familiars in her class. I'd only seen those at the beginning of the year. My mind races, trying to match her to the blurry images I have of those terrifying first days, as she continues on her line of questioning.
"Well, we're going to talk about the little show you put on in Professor Berg's advanced casting. Can you do that?"
she asks in a quiet voice, gentle, though not demeaning. Yes, ma'am. I nod. Not like it matters anyway. She'll get what she wants from me. It's just a question of whether we do it with just her in the room, or she needs to call back her friend. The position is not lost on me. She can stand there and pretend to be the good option, but she's still towering over me, and given the length of the leash, I couldn't stand if I wanted to.
"All right. Is that the first time that you have done such a dangerous maneuver while your master was trying to cast from you?"
she asks, pulling out a small pad of paper and a rather plain quill. No, ma'am, I answer honestly. Did they think we were just trying this stuff out for the first time without considering the consequences?
"No. So you've done it before."
She scribbles on her page and looks back down to me. Yes, ma'am. Master and I had worked on a new style of casting. We were trying to make it... I cut myself off. I can't say what his true goal was. To make it easier for me. To make it possible for me to function as a familiar.
"Make it what?"
She doesn't miss my pause, pressing for me to pick up where I've left off. More efficient, ma'am. That's what my master said. I looked down at my own feet. It was what he had told me. The traditional way of casting isn't efficient, and that's what is hurting you.
"Do you know how dangerous your actions were?"
she asks, and my heart goes cold in my chest. I hurt my master. I'm dangerous. I deserve to be put down, but Kara didn't think so. He said he understood that it was an accident. Kara protected me. He kept me safe. Dangerous? No, ma'am. We had practiced a lot to make sure that nobody could get hurt. I say it like it's the most obvious thing in the world, as though I'm scandalized by the idea that this could be harmful. You practiced? She prompts, scribbling everything down on that little notepad of hers. Yes, several times a week to make sure that it would be entirely safe. I'm sorry, ma'am, but what we were doing, nobody was supposed to be able to get hurt. Is my master all right? I let myself stutter and stumble, twining my fingers together in a show of nervousness. Your master is all right, for the moment, but I'm going to sit with you for a bit to make sure that we have everything in order before I go to talk with him. All right? She responds with a sweet, patient smile. And I know I've got her. I can't do much as I am to help my master, but she really does seem to be listening to everything I'm saying. The short little scribbles in her notebook every time I speak prove that. I draw myself into a curled little ball, tilting my head as though I am listening intently, hanging on each of her words. I bat my eyes, showing off my big eyelashes, and conjure up the sweetest expression I can manage, despite the sick anxiety that's rolling through my body. If nothing else, I can convince her that we are completely innocent.